denizens of the night. Welcome to another episode of the macabre, the terrifying. Broadcasting live from the other side of the peephole on your front door, I will be your guide through the witching hours. Tonight, we'll find out a little more about what is going on at that mysterious facility from parts 1 and 2. Our protagonist has stumbled home after another long week of lonely night shifts and is catching up on sleep. When lo and behold, there is a rapping upon his front door. The mysterious visitor claims to know all about the hidden secrets at the facility. It seems that not everything is as it seems at face value. Or perhaps I should say that everything is not as it seems at face value. This is part 3 out of 4 of Nameless, written by A.G. Hilton. I bolt upright in bed. By the digital clock on my nightstand, I see it's about 9:30 on Friday night. Vaguely, I recall stumbling to bed while the sun was still well in the sky, and I think of Kylie and James, who were probably just now heading out to start their evening. They'd invited me out, but I'd declined them this time, saying I needed to catch up on sleep and that I'd catch them later in the weekend. And that had been the truth. I had barely managed to make my drive home without nodding off, and still felt like I could sleep for a year. I wonder if I'm coming down with something. I feel like I've been hit in the head with a hammer, and it's a struggle to understand why I'd suddenly come awake. I'd been having a dream, I think. It's already fragmenting in that way dreams do, but one image remains. That weird red door. From the image of the door, I'm able to reassemble a portion of the dream narrative. I had been in the hallway looking at it. Those faint marks, I think they'd been glowing? But one thing I remembered with sudden and precise clarity was the sounds from behind the door. It had been knocking. No, knocking was too mild a description. It had been hammering. Hammering enough to rattle the door in its frame. In fact, that sound was so clear, it's as if I can still hear it. Thunk, thunk, thunk. I've got to be losing it. I've heard of people waking up from nightmares and experiencing a little bleed over from the dream, but I could almost swear that someone was at the door. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Again the sound rings out hollowly, and only then does my brain catch up with waking reality. Someone is knocking at the door. But at this hour? Maybe it's some delivery I need to sign for. Or maybe I ordered some food for delivery? If so, I can't remember doing so, and I'm not expecting any packages. Thunk, thunk, thunk. At the third repetition of the knocking, I swing my feet out of bed, slide into some pajama pants, and grab a t-shirt lying close at hand. Making my way to the door, I peer through the little looking glass before answering. No, it can't be. For a moment, I stand frozen as I stare through the looking glass at my father. I throw open the door, a million questions on my lips. I must still be sleep-addled, because the man on the doorstep isn't Dad. Of course it isn't. Dad is a year rotting in the grave. He looks similar, though. Same blonde hair, same angular cast to his features. But I would know that face anywhere, and this is someone else. Even as I stare at him, I realize he doesn't really look like Dad at all. No, he kinda looks like James. I'm starting to think I need to get my head checked out. Only after gawking at the man for a moment do I realize I'm standing here wide-eyed in front of a stranger in my pajamas. Help you? I ask, trying not to sound as startled as I am. I think we can help each other, friend. I'm so sorry for showing up out of the blue, but it's just important that I'm sorry, but are you sure you're at the right place? You're the new guy, aren't you? Took that Tuesday to Thursday night slot over at the facility on the south side? My mouth dries up. My first thought is that somehow the company knows about the note I'd taken. Oh, God, what if this is about a breach of the contract and of that mountain of NDAs? Visions of never-ending lawsuits, of losing everything I'd managed to hold together, flash through my mind's eye. You are him, aren't you? The man asks again. I realize I've been standing there, motionless, a beat longer than would be normal, and my panicked brain kicks back into gear. Wouldn't know about that, sorry. I move to shut the door, but the man holds up his hands in a placating gesture. Please, hear me out. I'm not with them. I worked there too, and I think you and I need to talk. That place is bad business. You need to know. The note echoes. Every day more suffering. The man looks to his left and right, up and down the apartment hall. Look, can you invite me in, please? Be best to talk in private. My better judgment tells me it's not wise to let a stranger in. But he clearly knows something. And if I'm honest, I want any information he can give me about this weird gig more than I want to worry about being scammed or robbed. There's also something about him. Maybe it's just his simple resemblance to my friend, but there's an air of honesty about him. It's like he's pleading to tell me whatever he knows. And there's something else. The man looks a little unkempt. Now that I get a good look, I see his clothes are a little disheveled, and his eyes have a touch of redness, as if from lack of sleep. He doesn't look like someone on official company business, and yet again, he knows something. I can feel it. Or maybe I'm just being wishful. I tap my foot and look from the man back into my apartment before finally making a choice. Okay, come in. The man smiles warmly. Thank you so much. I step aside and allow the man to enter. Then I direct him to one of the chairs in the area I use as a living room while I go to the fridge. My nerves are on edge, and I find myself cracking open a beer. You, want something to drink? I ask. The man is standing in the living room, studying my bookshelf. I catch him running his fingers along the spines of the paperbacks there, and he turns suddenly, looking a little sheepish. Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Again, I'm really sorry to impose like this. It's fine. I don't have anything going on tonight, I say lamely. You, got a name? The man opens his mouth, but a sharp ringing like tinnitus chimes in my ear. Sorry, can you repeat that? The man smiles again. So sorry. I get a little mush-mouthed when I'm excited. I was just saying that I know how this is gonna sound, but maybe it would be best if we leave names out of it. I chuckle ruefully at that. You know, that kind of sentiment is sounding real familiar. Trust me, I appreciate how it comes off. It sounds like them. But at this point, it is best to be brief and to keep some anonymity. No sense taking on more than you can handle now. I set my jaw. All right. Well, what can you tell me? How about we start with how you found me? They run that place like it's a tiny black site. I don't even know anyone else who goes in. Hell, I've never even seen anyone else there except for my manager, guy called Luke. Something flashes in the man's eyes at the name. Something like hatred. But it is fleeting, and before I have time to ponder it, the man is back to his mild self. "That's a pretty good way to put it," he says. "They are tight-lipped. Truth is, I tracked you down the old-fashioned way. I've been keeping my eye out when you've come and gone." "Wait a minute, you've been... what, following me?" "Watching? Just trying to get a feel for you. Figure out if you can be trusted. What kind of guy you are, that kind of thing." "Oh yeah? And what kind of guy are you out there stalking people? You said you worked there. Worked, as in past tense. You get fired or something?" "Something like that. May I?" The man indicates one of the open chairs. I nod to him, and he sits. He sinks down and closes his eyes as if relishing the comfort of the chair. "So, what happened?" I prompt him. His eyes flash back open. "Sorry. I haven't been living very comfortably these days. They make it hard." "They being..." "You know, the people who keep that place over there. I used to do what you're doing. Informational awareness, whatever the hell." "But not anymore." "No, not anymore. Guess you could say I got caught in a breach of all that paperwork. Me and another guy, the one you replaced. I jumped ship before anything could happen. As for him..." I take a swig of my beer and sit down across from him. "I found a note. It was hidden up inside the toilet paper dispenser. You know anything about that?" "Can't believe it was still there. Guess no one else gave it a close enough look. Then again, only a handful of people ever actually go inside. Probably was one of mine. I used to exchange them with the guy who worked your shift. Can't remember how that started. Probably from boredom, but that's how we made first contact. Yeah, lucky thing, really. They do so much to make sure you never cross paths with anyone else who works the inside." His eyes widen suddenly, and he drops his voice to a low tone. "Your phone. Where is it?" I blink at him. This is giving me all sorts of déjà vu. "The bedroom?" I say with an inclination of my head. "What about it?" His voice drops even lower. "Go shut it down. Leave it in the other room and close the door. Better yet, put it in a drawer or something." "What, you think they're..." "Go!" he hisses. "Just do it!" I stand slowly and study the new tension which has entered the man. I'm reluctant to turn my back on him. What the hell am I doing? I really have just let some crazy off the street into my apartment. Yet whether still spurred by my initial spark of curiosity or simply to placate him, I go to the bedroom and do as instructed. However, upon returning, I think I understand the man's sudden change of demeanor. "Are they listening?" I ask him. "Have they done something to my phone?" The man shakes his head. "I can't say for sure. I'd be lying if I said I understood how or even if something like that could be done. But they hold on to it for you, right? Who knows what they might have done with it? Everything they do is for the purposes of obscuring, of controlling what you know and how you know it. I want to help you, keep you from ending up like the one you replaced." Now that curiosity is back in full force, I retake my seat and lean forward on my knees. "What happened? Did he find something out about that shipping container? I just can't understand what the point of the whole thing is. The whole operation is just strange. Inefficient, really. What did you mean in that note? About the suffering, I mean. The man blows out a slow breath. He studies me intently as if searching for something. I cannot say I know exactly why they operate the way they do, but it does not take a genius to understand the purpose is all for hiding something. You asked about the cargo container. Would you believe me if I told you it was a cell? A cell? Like a prison cell? He nods, a grim look pinching his features. A beat of silence passes between us. It's long enough for me to consider the connotation the word cell brings and to connect it to the mention of suffering in the note. It's people, he says at last. They move people through that building. The container is used as a nondescript holding pen. People? Wait. Are you saying this is, what, a stop along some kind of human trafficking route? The man nods. I stand up, pacing the room. My mind feels as though it wants to spin down so many mental routes that I don't know where to start. How do you know? I finally ask. The building is the weirdest thing. I'm no architect, but the whole thing feels off. It's like the building was constructed around the holding area. It looks normal enough outside, but inside it's really just a few hallways and that red door. Did you see how they come and go? Some loading area hidden around the back? I'd think that strange setup of the building should help prove my point, but I can't say I understand the exact logistics of the operation. He, that is the one you replaced, was the one who started to understand things. You ever go into the halls in your off time? Not for the routine checks, but just at random. Well, no. The manual seemed pretty clear the only time to leave the room is for the hourly checks. This other guy, I think he got curious, started poking his head out in the hall after being on the job a while. Said if he hung out around that red door long enough, he could sometimes hear people crying out. I figure they got the place well insulated for sound. That way, even if people are up and about, no one will hear them. But there, around the door, maybe you can catch it if you listen. My mind flashes back to my first day. I remember the red door, pressing my ear against it and hearing something. I hadn't been able to place the sound back then, but the more I think on it, the more I think that, yes, maybe it could have been a voice or voices. What else? Was there anything else you two saw? I mean, I just can't wrap my head around going through all this trouble. Why bring in outsiders at all? Who knows? The one you replaced, he wondered the same things at first. But I think that's the point. All an elaborate smokescreen. Besides, it's not just anyone they let in off the street. What about you? Young, smart guy? Why are you sitting up nights watching cameras? I needed the money, I say automatically. I got laid off and things were spiraling for a bit there. The man's logic was making sense to me now. Leverage. The finances are leverage because they look for someone who needs the money. And not just that. Forgive me for being presumptive, but you don't strike me as the oppositional type. I'm agreeable, I guess. The man laughs at that. I'd say so. You let a stranger walk into your apartment instead of making more of a scene, didn't you? What are you saying? I'm saying I think they're more selective than you think. They have a profile they're looking to fill, and you fill it. I sit with that for a minute. God, but I'm tired. All I want is to lie back down and shut everything out. But if what this guy is saying is true, well, then I have to do something, right? I mean, if they're moving people through this place and I'm some watchman, even if an unwitting one, then I've been facilitating some of the worst crime I can think of. Yet some small part of me can't help but question the man. For all he's told me, it's all been so vague. And it strikes me how convenient his timing is. All this time passes, and he only shows now, after I find this note? Almost as if he knew, was waiting for it to be picked up. But of course, that has to be coincidence. Even if he's been surveilling me, there's no way he would know that I'd found it. I come back to myself, and the man is still sitting there, looking at me expectantly. What's the point in telling me all this? Well, look, I know you said you were looking out for me, trying to make sure I didn't end up like this other guy and all that. But what actually happened to him? Were you two trying to break this thing up? Say I don't believe you about all this. What's to stop me from reporting all this back to them? The man's eyes narrow. When he speaks again, it is with a note of warning. I would be careful choosing sides if I were you. You need to know who you're dealing with. Even if you decide to stick your damn head in the sand, you still have to know you're nothing to them. One day, you're gonna know too much, see too much, and then the rug will get pulled out from under you. This guy you replaced? He and I were trying to make a move. We wanted to bust up the operation, free whoever was being held there at the time. Plan was set to grab that Luke and get him on the inside, get him to tell us how to get into the red door. But we didn't get the chance. Day before it's supposed to go down, they grab him and he's just gone. I don't know what tipped him off. Could have been anything with how close of tabs they keep. But you made it out, I say. Just a matter of luck. I came early to my shift that day, saw him getting carted off into a white van, and got out of there before anyone noticed. I've been hiding out in a motel across town since. I know they're looking for me. That's why I need you. I don't have a chance of getting on the inside, but you could help me. I'm ready. We could make our move the next time you go in. Hold on, slow down. I need to think about this. I mean, I don't even know you, and you won't tell me your name. I rub my temples, trying to keep my thoughts on track. Nothing is making sense. And now you want me to help you break up a supposed trafficking ring in a few days' time? Time waits for no one, and it's not waiting for those that pass through that place and then go on to who only knows where. But forget about the people you'd be helping. This is in your best interest, friend. I told you sooner or later you'd see too much, know too much. Well, you already know too much. The fact you kept that note and didn't report it is damning enough. You don't know what kind of people you're dealing with. The guy before you didn't see it coming, and neither will you. The noose might already be closing in around you. Who's to say you're not going to disappear when you show up for your next shift? You'd be a fool if you don't think they keep close tabs on you. I remember the last interaction I'd had with Luke. I remember him placing that call as soon as I'd left, and I get a little shiver down my spine. What would you need me to do? The man smiles. That's the beautiful part. I don't need you to do anything but go in and do your normal routine. Just be normal. I'll be there when you come out at the end of the shift, and I'll be ready. All I need is an opening, maybe a little distraction, and I'll make the rest happen. I might need a hand on the inside, but we can play it like I'm threatening you into it. Something goes south, then maybe you have some plausible deniability. After all, you don't even know my name. You'll just be a bystander caught in the crossfire. That is a bit of an easier pill to swallow when I stop and think it over. Just go and do my thing and let the vigilantes do their thing. I still have so many questions, but suddenly the mental fog that's been clouding my head is turning toward a brain-splitting headache. Hey guy, you don't look so good, the stranger says. I sit back down in the chair. Sorry, I don't know what's up with me. Lost sleep catching up to me, I guess. Nothing a little lie down can't fix. I've said my piece, so I'll leave you. Can I expect your cooperation? The world grows dark. My vision shrinks down to a narrow cone. Wait, I croak. I have questions. No time. The man is up and heading to the door. I took a risk coming here like this, and it's best if I get out too. I feel my gorge rising. What is wrong with me? I force back the sickness and exhaustion, managing to follow him part of the way to the door. The test. What about the test at the end of each shift? What does it mean? The man stops as he reaches for the door handle. That is something I wish I knew. He turns to face me once more. All I can say is to answer the questions. And not only that, believe what you say. Believe with everything in you. Can you do that? But words fail me. I feel my legs turning to jelly, and I slide down the wall I'd fallen against for support. The man approaches me and places a hand on my forehead. Just rest, friend. And remember, this is our secret. You can't breathe a word of this, not even to those friends of yours. They'll be watching. And darkness rushes up to meet me. When I wake up, it's with a growling stomach and a bone-dry mouth. Sun slides in warmly through the blinds, and I realize I've slept well into the next day. But when I pick up my phone to check the time, it's the date that jumps out at me. I've not slept well into the next day, but the day after. A good 36 hours gone, up in smoke. I need some coffee. A walk would be good too. I stand and make for the kitchen. My head feels all jumbled, and I keep getting vivid flashes of a dream where some stranger came into the apartment. I think he was saying something about my job. Jeez, dreaming about work. I really need to get out and they'll be watching. I freeze there, staring at a square of creased paper on the kitchen counter. The words stare back at me from atop the square, and suddenly I feel very much awake. I don't remember putting it here, but turning the creased page over, I realize it is the same piece of paper I found at the facility. Upon seeing the original message written on the opposite side, everything rushes back. Quickly, I dress, grab my wallet, and head out the door. I head 2 blocks down from the apartment to a little coffee shop on the corner. It's a little busy today, and I'm glad to be surrounded by people. After getting my drink, I sit on a bench outside and finally let myself revisit the memories of my mysterious visitor. The sleep must have done me some good. Now that I'm up and moving, I feel like I can finally think things through. Whatever hesitation I'd harbored has left me. I don't really know how to explain it, but by the light of day, the whole thing seems simple. Either roll over and don't make a fuss like I've always done with everything else in my life, or stand up and do something. As outlandish as the man's story had been, it's outweighed by the sheer strangeness of the operation in which I've already been participating. Maybe he's wrong about who or what is being moved through the building or held there, but whatever is going on, it can't be good. It's too clandestine to be an honest enterprise. Sooner or later, you'll see too much, know too much. The day feels chilly as clouds pass before the sun. I reach for my phone almost on instinct. I'm about to text James when the stranger's last words come back to me. I put the phone away. I can't talk to them about it. I probably shouldn't even be near them. Not until this is over and done with. Some part of me whispers that they can help, that I probably need that outside perspective they could give me. But that voice was smothered by worry. No, if this is really what it is beginning to seem like, I'll only be jeopardizing them if I bring them into it. There are too many people here, that same voice of worry says. Too many eyes to watch. Uneasy now, my gaze darts from face to face. Who knows if someone among these might be watching me? That businessman on his phone, isn't he glancing in my direction too often? That woman pushing the stroller, hasn't she walked by me before? A silver car turns into the parking lot, and my heart catches. I can't see the driver, but I'll be damned if that's not Luke's car. I'm on my feet without a second thought, and briskly headed back to the apartment. I'll have to be careful and keep my head down. I think they might be on to me. The time before my next shift passes with agonizing slowness. I sit in my apartment and wait. I shut the blinds against prying eyes, and I dare not even use my phone in case my activity is being monitored. James calls me several times over the course of the weekend before I eventually shut the phone down altogether. At one point, someone, maybe even James himself, comes and knocks at my door, but I don't answer. Don't even check to see who it might be. I can't risk it, because I keep thinking on it. I've thought on it good and long, and now I'm sure of the conspiracy, and I know one wrong move will mean the end of me. The last thing I want is for Kylie and James to get mixed up in all this. Yet for all my paranoia and being a prisoner in my own apartment, I feel a rising exhilaration. Something in me has changed. I can't explain it, but all the uncertainties, all the questions, and all the timidities that have defined me are melting away like a frost under the golden rays of the sun. I must help the stranger. Of this I am now certain. And though I don't know what's in store for me, I'm ready to face it. It is a glorious feeling. It's an alien feeling. And with this new resolve, I prepare myself for what is to come. You know, I wonder if it's a good thing to lose all your, uncertainties, questions, and timidities all at once like that. Take it from me that fear and caution can be a good thing, helpful even. Why, I ply my trade and make my bread and butter with it. How does the saying go? The only thing to fear is fear itself. But that's not really true, is it? There are people out there who will hurt you for their own gain. Sometimes the world really does have claws and teeth, and caution is what keeps you out of them both. But what do you think? Is the mysterious stranger telling the truth? Or does he also have an angle? If you enjoyed this story, stay tuned next week as we reach our explosive conclusion. You might also be interested in the playlist I've set up for A.G. Hilton's work, which I'll show on the video shortly. Please leave a like before you go, and subscribe to hear more haunting yarns like this one. Whatever you do, do not immediately open the door for strangers, and don't fall asleep.